Hello and welcome to this week's video. So, we spend a lot of time digging into the black and white of the old world. I thought we'd look into something in the modern day that always kind of piques my interest, and that is the country of Turkmenistan. Don't fault yourself if you haven't heard of it. Few have, and what we have heard has been nothing but Western propaganda, in my opinion. And just taking a look at some of these pictures, stops we'll see here today on this week's video, just look at the magnificent architecture and the very few people. This they call a Ferris wheel. If you believe it or not, the few people that have actually went up in it have said it's a very odd Ferris wheel, perhaps with a different purpose. See the antenna and this geometric design. You'll see that in a lot of the structures and layouts of this city, Ashgabat, the capital of Turkmenistan. And this, I believe, is a TV tower. So officially it's a state that is ruled by a dictator, and he built all these magnificent structures and architecture off the backs of his people. Let's take a look. One thing we gotta kind of take into consideration here is we always get hung up on these little bits of facts that we think we know about things, and we trust the media for some things and learn to doubt them for other things. Well, really it's, you can call me a cynic or whatever, but you have to almost take the approach of they are lying to you about everything. Historical, current events. I mean, if the last few years hasn't been an eye-opener for you, and it has for many, but many are still asleep, and those still asleep grasp to those mainstream narratives like, pridefulness almost, unwilling to admit they've been tricked, and even those awake to what's been going on in the last few years still hold on to, oh, well, history says this and this, or, oh, there was no mud flood. It was just a bunch of people jacking up buildings with old-time jacks because it flooded in the areas they built. They use no logic when it comes to that. They still think the historic narrative they tell us is true, but they might be willing to accept that the mainstream news media is lying. Well, if they're lying to you about the news in the last few years, how much of history do you think they've lied to us? The wool's been hung over our eyes, all of our eyes, for far too long. And whenever your awakening period is, welcome, and I'm glad you're here with me. But Turkmenistan. So, you never hear anything about it. It's an isolated country in between Iran, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, and Afghanistan. The biggest populated city is Ashgabat, the capital. I hope I said that right here. But you've seen some of those beautiful structures they say were built for tourism. Well, let's take a look here at some of the tourism numbers. Wanted to highlight just a few quick bits from the narrative, because it's great to use tools like Google and DuckDuckGo and Wikipedia. They'll give you bits and pieces. Statistics can be great tools to piece together the narrative. For example, the populations we went over in old world cities not supporting the massive and beautiful build outs that they present. But tourism here, forgive me. So Turkmenistan reported an arrival of 14,000 foreign tourists in 2019. Now, that's nothing. By comparison, I did a pull-up of Iran, the World Bank site, again, using the globalist tools for our benefit. In 2019, before the pandemic, 9,107,000 people visited Iran in just 1 year, compared to 14,000 in Turkmenistan. Now let's see. Now we're going to see why I think that's so strange. Number one, you're going to see in these pictures very little people, very little vehicles, beautiful geometric patterns galore, no Western infrastructure, McDonald's, Burger King, etc., and the most beautiful, pristine architecture you'll ever see. And nobody goes to it. For one, tourism is strictly regulated, heavily regulated to groups. You're pretty much under constant guide from the time you get to the airport till the time you get to the hotel, and every time in between. To get there on a visa, it's pretty much impossible. You have to know somebody. And just look at how it's laid out, so almost like a computer, like a motherboard. And this is just the city streets. Wait till we get into some of the almost free energy looking layouts and patterns. You'll not see a single power line, just tall powered poles with that old fashioned Antiquitech design that you'd see on all those antennas from the old world. And look at these patterns all over. This is just a park. You notice that star fort geometry? And we'll take a look at some of the pictures here on Google Earth. This used to be a part of the Silk Road. Clear mud flooded there. See what I'm saying? These antennas right here have a New World touch. All these. And you see how there's barely anyone here. Look at these very beautiful light poles. A few cars on the street in this picture. But to me, it's like a Tartarian touch in the New World. Bit of the old world redesigned modern day. Look at that. Antenna tower right here. No power lines. Very clean. Not a single piece of garbage. They said they were giving free energy, literally free energy, to the population. That mostly 90-some% of it works for the government. And of course, they say they're all oppressed and whatever, but Western media, you really, especially you see with all these wars heating up, the propaganda there. Take all of that news you hear about places like this with a grain of salt. Those gazebos, I've done a video on TikTok on these gazebos. The old world ones looking very much reminiscent to that. Again, just look how beautiful and pristine it is, and barely anyone around. And who is this made for? Apparently the population is oppressed, and there's only 14,000 people that visit this whole country. Look at this. It's like something out of Star Wars. And I haven't even got to the layouts of this city yet. Showing some of these pictures, really. You see a small group of cars here. Nobody in this beautiful park. some people here. I love the old world Silk Road buildings here. All that brick. I think that's all the pictures here. Nice little representation. Yeah, let's get back to the layout. You just see this is all one park. With a beautiful star fort in the end, and it's very hard to actually see anything. The street view is very limited. And this is all of Ashgabat. You get like little dots here and there, but look at that. Oh, well, that's interesting. Nice little Easter egg we found ourselves in here. English. Got hearts strong as horns? That's a very beautiful bar for the 14,000 people that visit here a year. And a playground. That's why I said you're not going to see a McDonald's or a Wendy's, Taco Bell, any of that here. Playground, a playground. You see, they just don't go out of their way to hide this like geometry. Apparently the dictator was in love with this pattern. And you're going to see everything was just like built with such purpose. Like, look, it's a park. Look at that. Every single inch of it. Like many star forts. And you know the powers those present. This was all planned and laid out for a reason. If 14,000 people are only going to lay their eyes on it a year, and the civilization that lives here is oppressed, or the people that live here are oppressed, they say, who's this for? And look at this parking lot. This is an airport. Where are the cars? To or from. Whole highway empty. Here's some cars right here. All fricking white cars. Look, it's like looking at the top-down view of a computer chip almost. Everything is laid out so intricately. And for what? City Park. And that's what I told you guys earlier. State racetrack. Use tools like Google Earth. That's great. Look at this. National Museum. Google Earth can have many great treats to behold. Just look at that museum. Beautiful. And nobody's around. They say another mainstream cliche they tell us why there's nobody in these pictures in the daylight. Very reminiscent of those pictures from the old world of those abandoned cities. It's because it's too hot there. Look at that. Not a single person in the shot. Well, I pulled up a climate here. At most, in July, it's 100 degrees. Most of the time, it's nice and normal. December, it gets down to the 50s. I've seen pictures here with snow on the ground. And compare it to... This is a great site, Weather Spark. You can compare it to other cities here. So let's compare it to Dallas. Look at that. A little bit hotter in Dallas, but you don't ever see Dallas's streets completely empty like this, day or night. This is apparently the dictator that built all of this up. Their biggest export is natural gas. Look at these towers. It's quite a few of these we'll see on these videos. And I can't believe I feel like I just scratched the surface on this and we've already almost went over time. But I definitely want to show you a couple more parts here before we wrap it up. And maybe I will continue a follow-up video on this later in the week, as I have a lot to talk about. And these are, again, just my own opinions, and I don't claim to know all the answers. And far from it. I've, been wrong before. These are just my thoughts and, my research on the matter. I wanted to show you this. They call it's a solar collector. I spend many hours a week, I've been doing this for years and digging in for you and my own curiosity. Just look at all these trees laid out, just like a grid, all throughout this area. And just look at this pattern. Little star forts in between. And again, for what? Very little pictures to be seen on the street views. Click right here, see one of that. At night, it's really beautiful too. Just look at all these lights. Again, no power lines to be found anywhere. And look at that beautiful solar collector. See how I say everything's laid out like a big giant energy grid, like a computer. Look at that. Absolutely beautiful at night. Boy, I would love to go here one day. Let me know if you guys want to have a part 2 of this, because as you can see, I really just... Apologies for some of my rantings earlier, but I just really didn't do this place justice. This memorial park is another place I wanted to show you guys. There is like a Stargate right here. Look at this. If anybody knows what these symbols are, I'd love to know. Grab the bull by the horns, or the world by the horns here. But I believe right here, those look like those Stargates. If we haven't really ever touched too much on them, but these are obviously just some Pinterest images, but apparently, they found one intact in Iran. Or in Iraq. That's what the whole war on terror was allegedly about. This is looking very AI generated here. You can tell AI generated, guys. See, this does not match. Backgrounds don't match. Faces look off, distorted. Guy doesn't have any eyes. That's how I've told AI. I mean, I used to be an auditor for almost 10 years now. So it's kind of easy for me to pick those up, but topic for another video for that, perhaps. Oh, shoot. But I mean, just, some of these non-AI generated, if I can find a few here. That's cool. I love airships, if you guys haven't known. That's beautiful. And who's to say what the old world photos we're not given aren't fake? Fake dates, fake skies. AI's probably been around a lot longer than you think. But yes, I mean, just look at that. That's like a modern day looking Stargate. Very beautiful. For the 14,000 lucky people to tour here a year. And it's just a memorial park. Where is that Ferris wheel? Oh goodness, guys, if I don't get to it in time here, we'll definitely do another part. Because, I mean, just look at this. It's an ADHD person's dream. One of my... Oh, wow. That's a trippy photo. Look at it at night. I mean, what is that? What is that for? They'll probably just say park. Whew. wants to arrange a tour group to Turkmenistan? I am so down. This is, yeah, I'm not going to try and pronounce that. Sorry, folks. Middle school. And, I mean, Washington, D.C. doesn't have anything on this capital. And look, it's just laid out like a computer. There it is, I think. Nope, that's that solar collector. Really want to find that Ferris wheel for you guys. Oh, come on. Oh, here we go, folks. Last part of the video, best for last. So just look at this little complex. Again, all these trees laid out like a grid. Perfectly laid out. And whatever this design, whatever these patterns are, I don't know. Looks very much free energy style to me. But this is a Ferris wheel, an enclosed Ferris wheel. Almost like gears of a giant machine. Again, people that have rode in it says it's very bumpy, enclosed, you can't really see much. I wouldn't blame them. Look at all these lights. Not a power line in sight, not a piece of garbage in sight. And maybe in this shot alone at night, you can count a couple dozen. And it's so beautiful. This Christmas time here is beautiful as well. Ha! Look at that. I wish we had anything like this in my city. I love it. And over on the other side of this real quick before we wrap it up, we got this beautiful gem. Just look at that. I mean, if this isn't some kind of free energy grid, look at all these, no wires, pointy little antennas on the top of them all. I believe this is the last vestige of the fallen Tartarian Empire. You know, maybe a agreement with the globalists. We don't screw with you, you don't screw with us. We're off in our little desert hideaway paradise, and we let you do the rest with the rest of the world. At least that's my opinion. Let me know what you guys think in the comments about this place, and if you want a part 2, because there is so much more. We got the gates of hell. Yeah, right here, gates of hell. Apparently they started a natural gas crater up in the 1970s, and it's been burning ever since, and that's just in the middle of the desert. A star fort in the middle of the desert here that I can't even begin to try and find where it's at. Somewhere around here, I think. That looks like it just got leveled. And I did a video on that here. I'll tag that in the descriptions here. But yeah, if you guys want a part 2 of this, let me know. Sorry my video was a few days late. I was a little bit under the weather and my voice wasn't quite 100%. Still isn't quite yet, but I suffered through. And hopefully you guys enjoyed this video this week and it got you asking some questions. Because that's the important thing in life, is question the narrative, question the history we're taught, the news we're taught, and just learn to question everything, friends. Until next time. Oh, and my obligatory, if you like this channel and would like to help support it, consider buying me a cup of coffee. The link will be in the description below, or you can always Venmo me. You know, my job is to bring you information and to enrich your guys' minds and enrich your guys' thoughts on the world and this realm around us. And I appreciate all your guys' contribution to help making that possible. Until next time, friends, thanks for watching.